Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to participate in the Financial Inclusion Week, especially to talk about opportunities we have to keep advancing, hopefully more quickly, towards ensuring that women not only have access to financial services, but also use them to improve their financial health, well-being, and agency and freedom. The challenge remains. Nearly 1 billion women are still waiting for those opportunities. Data, which is our topic for today, and having a sex disaggregated approach to it is pivotal in bringing these gaps. However, only 45% of financial services providers report worldwide SDD to their respective regulators, and often these reports are very superficial. When utilized effectively, sex disaggregated data enables financial institutions to design products tailored to women's needs and allows regulators to craft policies that address systemic barriers. Today, we'll delve into how institutions are harnessing SDD to enhance women's financial inclusion, the role of regulators in this endeavor, and explore how critical data that could further empower women in the financial sector. So, with that introduction, I'm very glad to be here with my three panelists. First of all, I have the honor of welcoming Anita Bhatia. Anita served as the Assistant Secretary General and UN Women's Deputy Executive Director from 2019 to 2023 and is now a board member of Banco Sol in Bolivia. For today's conversation, she brings a global perspective on how data can shape gender equality and how Banco Sol has implemented a data-driven approach to its Avanza Mujer program, which includes the first issuance of gender bonds in the country, along with many other initiatives advancing women's financial inclusion. Welcome, Anita, and thank you for being here with us. It's also a pleasure for me to share this panel with Faizan Salam, Director of Strategy and Growth at SAJIDA Foundation in Bangladesh, and with Marjorie Kozang, Corporate Social Responsibility Coordinator in the Partnership Sustainability and Corporate Social Responsibility Department at Fidelity Bank in Ghana. Thank you both for being here. With the support from the Coca-Cola Foundation, Accion's team has been working with 4 financial services providers in Bangladesh, Ghana, Peru, and India over the past 18 months to identify and implement a wide range of initiatives to scale the number of women, micro, and small entrepreneurs served by their organizations. Marjorie, Faizan, thank you for being here representing all of our partners. It has truly been a pleasure working with you and your team on this important journey. So with those introductions, let's start our conversation. So first of all, let's start with how data is being used at the most fundamental level to unlock opportunities that women might otherwise miss. This means making women visible, assessing readiness, and creating fairest access to finance. Anita, you've seen firsthand how data can guide institutional decisions and policy priorities globally. From your perspective, what makes data an effective tool for women's financial inclusion at scale?
Thank you so much. Can you hear me?
Yeah, there's a little echo there.
There's a slight echo, but otherwise you can hear me well?
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
First, thank you so much, Lisa, for convening this panel. And I'm really pleased to be on this panel and to join my distinguished colleagues in having this really important conversation at this juncture in women's financial inclusion. And I think this focus on data is something that's incredibly important because in the rhetoric and the actions on financial inclusion, we often forget to underscore just how important it is to make sure that all of this push is actually supported by real numbers. And that's where the role of data comes in, because it's actually an essential tool for accelerating women's financial inclusion on a large scale. Several policymakers and institutions will have hypotheses about what works and what doesn't work, and about the size and the segment of underserved markets. But until you attach real numbers to it, you don't really have a sense of how big that business opportunity is. you don't have the possibility of making really visible how deep those structural inequalities are. And if you can harness evidence to make the business case, then not only are you finding the opportunities, but you're also able to make a really strong business case to say, well, you thought that the market segment that was underserved for women was 20%, but here's the data, I'm making this up, showing that it's actually closer to 45%, and therefore it warrants investment in actions at the institutional, at the policy level to capture this underserved market. So I think data is essential for actually identifying opportunities, but it's also important for standardization and for creating comparability, because if you want to benchmark what you are doing in a particular country or institution and see how you stand relative to others, the only way to do it is if you have data that tells you how you are doing and what your performance is relative to others. And then finally, I think it's really important to have data to do monitoring and evaluation, because how do you know whether or not your actions, whether they are at the organization level like Banco Sol or at the government level, are having the intended impact? You can only do that if you follow the numbers and if you collect the numbers and if you share the numbers. So I think, at Banco Sol, we really have a belief that, first of all, when a woman moves forward, we all move forward. But in order to make the business case around this and to convince the continuing number of skeptics that you will always find, whether within the organization or in a country, I think it's really important to harness data smartly and to harness it systematically and to harness it in a way that makes the business case.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, Anita, for this very good point, and maybe to your point of business about the business case itself. I also find that many times when we talk about the business case with financial services providers, they mainly say, well, this is how big the market opportunity is in this country, right? But for example, I remember that once Banco Sol shared with us that after analyzing the data, they realized that the gap in credit was about $480 gap between men and women. And then when they tried to understand that better, they realized that it was it was less about reaching more women, and it was more about enhancing the client engagement and the monetization through deeper product penetration. So the business case is not only about size; it's really how to monetize also women clients who are always good clients in many senses. So yeah, thank you for that, Anita. And then maybe moving to Bangladesh. So Faisan, your organization has always focused on serving women in many ways. You probably know more about women clients and family financial dynamics than anyone else. Yet, in recent years, you have invested significantly in using data to ensure that women not only gain access to financial services, but also progress throughout their client journey. How do you expect this data-driven approach to translate into deeper and more meaningful financial inclusion for women in Bangladesh?
Hi, thank you, Lisa. Thank you for having me here today. I'll just start off by kind of giving you a background of the microfinance industry in Bangladesh and then go on to what we're doing and then where data actually gives us a lot of kind of leeway into pivot into different areas. So I'd just like to say that the microfinance industry in Bangladesh has given millions of women their first step towards financial resilience and social mobility. Over the years, we've seen women play a stronger role in local economies and also in household financial decision making. But on the other hand, we've also seen stagnation. Many women continue to grow, continue to borrow without achieving real growth in income, savings, or which is important, autonomy, which is the most important. Access alone hasn't really been enough for us. That's why our focus at SAJIDA has shifted more towards financial graduation, which I'm going to define, rather than just access. We define graduation as by helping women move responsibly from small group loans to larger enterprise level financing that are more resilient to market shocks and also promote more savings and capital accumulation. Graduation to us isn't about just bigger loans. It's about scaling sustainably and also doing this by providing not only the right financial products, but also non-financial services as well. In the past, these decisions were mainly influenced by the vast experiential knowledge of our field staff. These are usually insightful, but sometimes shaped by local biases and also social norms. So here is where data kind of comes in. It gives us objectivity and consistency. It shows us where women face barriers, what type of support they need, and where we could kind of really divert our resources. A small example of this is our Shamota program, which is a very small ticket loan for underserved women. We've introduced a graduation scoring model with the help of Accion that uses behavioral and financial indicators to identify which clients are ready to grow now and those who require support, such as mentorship, capacity building, or market linkages. This data-driven approach makes resource utilization more efficient. It also strengthens our kind of interventions, which were previously funded by donors, which is kind of shrinking. And it also improves portfolio performance. Ultimately, from our view, data-driven empowerment isn't just about a social goal or a development objective. It's just plain good business for us. We build stronger clients. We can map when they're transitioning from small tickets to big tickets, what kind of indicators are improving, what we can do to kind of facilitate that, how we can kind of enhance loyalty, reduce delinquencies, and also ensure sustainable growth, not just for women, but their households and for our institutions as well.
Yeah, totally. Well, thank you for sharing that. Faizan, it's really interesting to see that approach in your organization and hopefully in other organizations in Bangladesh. And I really like, and I think it's very important, the point you're making about social norms and how data can help to make things more objective, right? Because like we all know that it's hard to change a norm from one day to the other. But I feel like with these approaches, we slowly will see a shift in the mindset, the way in which we analyze, which the perspectives that we have, because that's one of the main parts that we have seen in many of our partners is less about the product, is more about the approach and how we understand, they understand the context and how to be successful with that. So yeah, very important. Thank you, Faizan. Okay, and also talking about data, but women's empowerment is not only about financial access. Data can also expose barriers in other areas like workplaces that directly affect women's economic mobility. So Marjorie, thank you for being here and share with us, like you're using workplace data to understand women's advancement. What barriers did this data reveal that were invisible before, and how has it changed the bank's approach?
Okay. Thank you, Lisa, and good afternoon to our audience and everyone else. So at Fidelity Bank, we went on a journey to draft our gender action plan in 2023, and we used this data for this exercise. Out of the data, I was able to reveal some insights into some of the workplace gaps and barriers that our female staff were experiencing. Out of that, we draft, not just with our staff as well, it also extended to our stakeholders like our customers. So that led us to draft our 5-year gender action plan, taking into consideration the insights we got from the surveys and the assessments that we did. So in 2024, with the help of Accion and Coca-Cola Foundation, we instituted the use of the women intentionality assessment to do another survey, review the gender action plan, and to be able to close any gaps that we were experiencing as a result. So through the women intentionality assessment, we discovered some of the barriers in the area of maternity leave, how women experience some challenges when they have to go through childbirth and caregiving when it happens, and how they come back into the workspace. We also noticed that when they come back into the workspace as well, they experience challenges integrating and getting back into the work game, etc. So out of data and insights that we derived, we initially had a maternity leave policy of 3 months, which has now been increased to 4 months to help women still have enough time to be able to take care of their younger ones and still be able to work effectively. We also have our policies reviewed where we have flexi work policies where nursing mothers can work comfortably remotely with the right tools and setup, and they can still be very, very effective. We also embarked on awareness creation for line managers, to sensitize them on the importance of supporting female staff, especially through their maternity period and their flexi work, and still be able to give their full potential when they are on the job. We also discovered from the women intentionality assessment that a number of women also aspire for leadership roles. And there was a gap in terms of identifying the right role models or being able to actually see a clear career path that they could embark on. So out of that, we enhanced our existing development programs. We have an Orange Talent program where we identify young talents within the organization and groom them. But we went a step further to focus a lot more on women leadership, identify high-performing women in the organization who could serve as mentors for these up-and-coming females within the organization. And then beyond the workplace as well, through our women intentionality assessment and our gender action plan, we've been on the market to do a survey to identify the needs of women customers, both our customers and non-customers. As a bank, we already have products and services that meet the needs of everyone. We also have targeted products like the Fidelity Young Entrepreneurs Initiative, which has taken a step further to increase the eligibility age for women so that women can apply and be able to go through the support to help them to actually still grow their businesses and scale their businesses. So with the ongoing research with Accion and Ipsos International, we are hoping to draw some insights from the survey to be able to position ourselves as a bank of choice for all women and be able to support our women through these journeys in terms of their entrepreneurship, in terms of building their businesses, and also being able to employ people and also be able to support them in various ways. And so for me personally, this whole data process has been very enlightening for me because data is gold. And I believe that once we use data effectively, we will be able to make more informed decisions and be able to address the gaps that we identify in our operations. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Marjorie. That's insightful. Thank you so much. Yeah. Just out of curiosity, have you seen a very evident direct impact so far among your employees, like women employees, like something that you want to share here after those initiatives have been implemented? Marjorie?
Pardon?
Yeah, sorry. No, I'm just saying that thank you for sharing that. And I'm just like, if you want to share something about like if those initiatives have had already an impact in the women employees, like some feedback that you have heard from them.
Yes, definitely. So for instance, the increase in the maternity leave has been very useful. Many women are able to now comfortably know that they have enough time to take care of their young ones. They are able to have some kind of flexi policy when it is needed. Also, the experience that we've had some feedback that some line managers have also been line managers have been very supportive in this whole journey for women. And then also when it comes to the leadership development, people are able to identify high potential women they can actually walk to and can speak to. And because we have the structured mentorship program, we are able to track the performance of mentors and mentees in terms of their engagements and how it is positively impacting their career progression. So it is work in progress. We are excited about the various benefits this will come. But yes, in the initial stage, it is going very well, and we have received some very positive feedback.
Great. Well, congratulations on that. And maybe just on that point, Faizan, just to curious, like what this new data that you are now processing is revealing, something that you didn't know before.
So for us, even though we're at the early stages of this journey, we kind of feel that a lot of this data is giving us indications that the products that we have require diversity, because a lot of the contexts that especially women operate under are not the same. So we're trying to kind of use that data to generate strategies, develop some new products that are more kind of also processes which are more women friendly. So accessing them to mobile financial services, kind of retraining them into kind of the digital realm, which actually eases some of these kind of barriers that they currently have. So that's what we kind of initially see. So that's what we're currently working on.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, interesting. Thank you, Faizan. And Anita, maybe from your perspective on the board of Banco Sol, You have been closely involved in supporting the bank's leadership on its gender strategy, both for clients and internally. Can you tell us which actions have been most useful in building a gender intentional culture within the bank, and what new data the bank is starting collecting and tracking to guide the work?
Yeah, no, happy to discuss, and I can talk about this forever. So please cut me off if I speak too long about this, because this is a topic very dear to my heart. So I think there are a couple of elements behind the success of Banco Sol's gender equality strategy overall. The first, obviously, is the strong governance support. The board of directors is very supportive of the strategy. The president of our board, Esteban Alcho, really believes in this, and that's really important. We have a general manager, Veronica Gavianes, who really epitomizes strong leadership. And I need to say this because it's not always the case that when you have a woman who's in charge of this, that you will necessarily get somebody who's deeply committed to the cause. But in our case, we do have a fantastic general manager and somebody who really drives this agenda personally. So I think that strong governance and management support is a key element. I think the other key element is, the allocation of adequate resources to this agenda, because very often you will find institutions that say, oh, we really care about gender equality. But then when you look at the numbers and how much time and money they're allocating to this, they're not really walking the talk. But in Banco Sol's case, this is a very systematic strategy and resources have been allocated for it. I think the third thing is that the strategy is really end-to-end, meaning it's very comprehensive. These are not one-off initiatives. The strategy is called Avanza Mujer, and there are many different aspects to it. Data is collected on business opportunities and underserved segments of the population when it comes to increasing the bank's actual operations that support women entrepreneurs, women-led businesses. But then there's also internal data collected on the improvement of women's representation in leadership positions. The strategy is done in partnership with local actors and other stakeholders. The regulator is on board. Other actors such as chambers of commerce and local business associations. So it's really a comprehensive strategy. It looks at global best practice. So, for example, the bank is engaged with the Luxembourg Stock Exchange and other international global actors to understand what's being done elsewhere. And as a result, Avanza Mujer is today recognized as a best-in-class strategy. And this is why Banco Sol has become the first institution in the region to be able to have issued not one, but two gender bonds, which is wonderful, and we hope others will follow. Other institutions will look at Banco Sol and say, we should be doing this too. And there is actual tracking of data. So we know now that the number of women in leadership positions has gone up significantly since 2021. The number of women in leadership positions has gone up from 12 to 40%. The number of women on the board is at 42%. So, those kinds of metrics are tracked. And then finally, I would say one thing that's really important, or two things that are really important, are the two C's. One is communication. So Banco Sol communicates what these results are with pride, and through a systematic strategy of communication, both in fora within the country, but also outside, to let people know what is working so that others can be inspired and motivated by what we have done. And then finally, the part that's really hard, okay, which is the cultural piece and the organizational culture piece, is also something that is a very important and critical part of this strategy. And that has been worked on by disseminating data, by making the business case, and by showing that gender equality, which, by the way, has specific KPIs for every part of the bank, for every department of operations, overseen by a diversity committee. So much so that gender equality is not a standalone thing, but is totally mainstreamed into the overall business strategy. And as a result, it is a driver for innovation, for sustainability, for growth, and for competitiveness.
In that, Anita, and be very concise. Yeah, I think like I think I rescued from the case in Banco Sol especially is that they had the vision of like putting together a special program with KPIs and be very intentional about it. I think that's great. And I remember like one of the things that I learned about the program of many also is that they started to track and to measure the participation of women in the different departments. And obviously they realized that in technology department, the participation of women was very low, all STEAM activities and all. And so they not only knew that, but they put together a full strategy, how to recruit, how to empower women who were part of the technology department, etc. And now Banco Sol has I think they have increased like to 40% of women participating in the department. So that's another way of, as you can see, like how data can help us to surface on these opportunities to be intentional and to impact. So great, Anita, thank you so much. So now maybe almost a last question to Lisan and Marjorie. So we have talked a lot about the data that we have, but what about the data that we don't have? If you could uncover one hidden insight about women's financial lives that no one has measured yet, what would it be, and how could it transform? How could it transform the industry? Maybe, Marjorie, you want to start?
Okay, thank you, Lisa. So I think that when it comes to what we want to drill down, I think that was the reason why we embarked on this journey anyways, to be able to drill down and be able to identify the issues we could to help the financial needs of women. Drafting a gender policy, having financial and digital literacy programs to support the women. But in our interactions and some of the insights that we get, I think that there hasn't been a clear line for us to be able to tell how women are able to balance managing these activities in their life and also their emotional well-being or their wellness and emotional well-being in general. So even though they may be receiving financial literacy, digital literacy, all forms of trainings when it comes to the internal workplace, mentoring and supporting people, being able to juggle these responsibilities, unfortunately, has not really been should I say, quantified or really being looked into to understand what can be drawn out of it and be able to provide them the support they need to be more effective than more than they already are. So for me, what I would really love or really I'm curious about is how we can look into how women are able to still juggle all these responsibilities, the emotional, as against their emotional household responsibilities, and still being able to manage teams, deliver projects, initiatives, and all that. And I believe that this holistic insight into some of these things will help us not to use more like a straitjacket approach to measure if it's like maybe a 4, a 5, a 6, or whatever. But we should be able to use these insights to sustain or improve the performance of women leadership as well, build their leadership capabilities as well, and also be able to shine the light on real life experiences that they go through as a result of juggling these responsibilities in their everyday life. So I think it's a gray area. It's an area that we need to look at. I don't really have a clear start or finish or how we should go about this, but I think that we should look deeper into how women are managing these responsibilities against their emotional and personal activities as well.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, thank you, Marjorie.
Thank you.
Faisal?
So for us, we're trying to actually figure out if we had that data would be very useful, would be when financial inclusion actually becomes financial agency. So we're looking at the moment that access actually becomes control, or just participation turns into real decision-making power within the household. So we've studied women consistently seeking larger loans, maintaining above average savings, people that plan ahead, take calculated risks, manage money more independently. So our goal would be to kind of identify these models and make them into graduates so that we can kind of replicate their journey within the same context through analyzing their financial behavior or their social environmental contexts, because that would actually help us drill down what kind of interventions, especially the non-financial ones, would be kind of suited to kind of promote this agency. So that's something that we currently don't have, and especially because it's qualitative in nature to kind of understand what kind of influence the woman has on the household decision making, especially the financial ones. So that's kind of a work in progress, but I think using data and some of these new platforms that we have would be kind of shedding light on this.
Yeah, and adding AI eventually as well. Well, thank you, Faizan, for that. Maybe Anita, just to close our panel and give the audience time to make you questions. So drawing on your experience, both in global policy and now institutional level, if you could send one message to the broader ecosystem of financial actors, regulators, investors, international agencies about why adopting a sex-segregated data approach truly matters, or any other message that you want, what would be?
I mean, I think the message would be that if you're serious about financial inclusion, you can't really do it without using sex disaggregated data, because the data provides you insights that there is no way to get from standard business operations. And that, it's not just the right thing to do to collect sex disaggregated data, because it identifies business opportunities and helps you monitor what you're doing, but it's also the smart thing to do, because where institutions have taken this on with intentionality and seriousness of purpose, devoted resources to it, and Bacosol, as we discussed, is really a prime example of that. You see real results, and you see results that are really good for the bottom line, and therefore good for growing the pie in the country. So it's not just about growing the profits of the institution, it's about growing the overall pie. And God knows today we need more and more ways of growing the pie when we are so challenged at the macro level in so many countries. So I think my main message would be collect data because it's the right thing to do, but it's also the smart thing to do.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you, Anita. I don't know if Faizan, you want to add something else? Otherwise, I think we don't have questions in the chat. You do?
Yes.
Please.
No, just briefly, yes, just to buttress what Anita said, the data is really important. And like I mentioned in my first submission in terms of data collection as part of our support for women entrepreneurs, we're doing the qualitative and the quantitative as well. So we believe that the things that we may have missed as well will come out of the qualitative research that we're doing, and we should be able to support women financial inclusion. So just to add the bit that the data is important, and data should be guiding all our decisions.
Absolutely. Yeah. With a sex segregated approach, I think that's really, really important, especially, I mean, as technology moves and we obviously are more and more using AI and all the algorithms that come with that, and machine learning and all that. Like, I feel like we need to be sure that we are producing unbiased data. So we built a different future, and that's really, really key. So yeah, no, thank you. Well, thank you all for participating in this panel. I think like we don't have questions for today. So yeah, thank you very much for sharing your experience, and talk to you later.